We all know that the River Racers is going to be the big new attraction for 2025 at Kings Island, but that's not where the money stops flowing. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
Hey, let's kick this off by thanking our Prestige members. Let's give a shout out to Aaron Bort, 330T, Logan Lipper, Brian Hauser, Lil Mac 21, Miss Mandy 1983, Jacob Fix, Steve Hornack, Eric Grau, Damon Barnes, and our newest Prestige member, Ian Crawford. Thank you guys so much for supporting Tower Topics at the highest level. That's the Prestige level. If you want to be involved in Tower Topics, there's a link in the description. Members get early access to the videos, exclusive content, exclusive live streams, and hey, some tiers even get some free stuff. So before we kick this off, Don, you're going to put a very big task on me. You had another eye issue. Let's get this out of the way. So you may or may
not another eye issue. It's an ongoing eye issue from the stroke that I had in my eye back at the end of August. Had a couple of different surgeries. I had a temporal artery surgery. That was the first thing, and then I had another eye surgery in October. That was done to relieve like eye pressure and everything. And there were still follow-ups and there were still laser procedures,
Sure.
throughout October, November, into December. January was the first month where I didn't have anything. And then I went back in for checkups in February. The eye pressure had skyrocketed in my left eye, the right eye, normal, what you want it to be. The issue that I had in my right eye, which, was not related to the left eye, that seems to be holding pretty well from the different procedures that have been done there. But they gave me some like pills and some eye drops that didn't do it within a week, didn't do anything to really reduce it. So that was a concern. So I was sent back to the doctor that did my surgery in October. And she was looking at it, and she had some different options. She felt surgery was going to be needed, but also thought maybe I needed to, stick a needle in it and drain some fluid, which I wanted no part of. But she was able to find an open slot for me yesterday to have, the day before this recording, to have that surgery. And it's harder to pronounce than some of the Six Flags names to give their coaster.
Right.
So I'm not even going to try.
Rougarou.
It's cyclo something. I'm not even going to try.
Psychophotocoagulation. Psychophotocoagulation. I think.
Well, I'm not going to try, but it's harder to pronounce than that. The surgery was, I came out of it, and they said it was another, it was a successful surgery. They added 2 other eye drops to go with it. So I'm on a rotation every couple of hours with those. I was told to curtail activities for 30 days that I would normally do. That takes me out of the window of being able to attend Dollywood's opening weekend. I was really looking forward to that. Still might try to go. I just wouldn't be able to do any of the things that would be considered turbulent or stressful, on the body.
Right.
I don't know. They might consider walking up some of those hills too much stress for me. I don't know. I'll have several follow-ups before that, and I'll, ask if I can do that. But it's, it's one of those things. I'm resilient. I'm going to figure it out. I figured out a way for us to still do this recording. It's not easy to do it, but like I said, being resilient, it's going to take more than an eye surgery to keep you and I from recording on schedule. We have an obligation to our audience, right?
That's right. We've got shareholders in this company now. I'm kidding.
No, so I have an obligation to the thing. So, it's just, everything was, very easy for most of my life. And then the last 6 months, got thrown some curveballs. I'm going to deal with it. and I just might get delayed on some things I wanted to do in the spring, early part of the summer. But I'm gonna be back out there. I'm gonna be back out there riding and doing what I did before.
You'll be back. But I'm glad to see that you. I mean, obviously this happened yesterday, so it's not like you're out of the woods. But I'm glad that you felt up to doing the podcast today and stuff. I think that's kind of a testament to your resilience as well as the success of what
Well,
you're
to do
doing.
this or watch reruns of The Big Bang Theory or something like
We
that.
should
So,
do that instead. I'll hit cancel. Yeah. Okay.
so
But
but
we
no,
actually
I
have.
mean I mean I think that the sooner that you can get, anytime you go through stuff like this, I think the sooner you get back to some level of normalcy with what you do, I
Mhm.
think helps. And that was the case in the fall when just 5 days, after having the stroke, I was at the Golden Ticket Awards. I needed that normalcy.
Right.
As the last place I probably should have been, but that's what I felt I needed to do at that time, and I felt better for having done that. It was a different way of doing it, not having,
Sure.
at that time, and it's still not adjusting to really being able to see out of one. I would say I probably have less than 2% vision out of the left eye.
Yeah.
But trying to adjust to that is, something I'm going to continue to work at, and I can't let it be the reason I don't do the things that I love.
Yeah, yeah, I know you don't. I mean, I feel like you have ups and downs as far as good days and bad days, but I've known you long enough and well enough to know that this isn't going to defeat you. This isn't going to mean you're not going to ride roller coasters anymore, or visit the parks, or uh, write your blog or do this podcast. It's just
Well,
another
now it's a
bump in the road.
situation where, I mean, it's, you say good days and bad days, but now it's like the bad days are the good days. So there's bad days and worse days. So the bad days are the better days.
Hey, it's all what you get used to.
That's right.
Yeah. Uh, but
Let's get going. Let's get
let's
going
get
with
going with
this.
this because this is a very important show, and a lot of this is going to be kind of exciting, and some of it's going to be a little bit about tempering expectations. But let's give a shout out to Chris from the Season Pass group who dug up all this information. Why
Mhm.
don't you tell us what we're talking about today?
Well, Kings Island, they're investing heavily in park infrastructure for the 2025 season. They're doing all this work during the off season. They have it ready to go when the park opens in the spring. Series of renovations and additions, and these things total into the millions.
Mhm. Yeah, I've always preached that to people. Where I mean, granted, like if you're not getting a new coaster or flat ride or even like a restaurant, it's easy to say they didn't invest in Kings Island. But I would say in a year that they don't invest in Kings Island, they usually invest between $2 to $5 million in Kings Island. But
Oh
this
yeah,
is kind of
yeah,
pulling back the curtain on it.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, from retail and dining enhancements, you've got that expansion going on out in Soak City Water Park. It's not just the new water coaster and the slides in the kids area and bringing in the lounge chairs. I mean, there's other enhancements that are going on out there. So share with our audience, Ryan, what some of those things are.
okay. So I'm just going to start off. I'm going to do these in the order in which they were essentially presented to us. So this is in no particular order of size or scope or excitement or how much guest facing it is. But um, so one of the most notable enhancements in the dry park is going to be that the Kings Island Trading Company, which is the shop, it's not under the front gate, but you walk in and it's the first shop on your right. That is actually going to get a $450,000 renovation. Um, Beyond that information, we don't know what it is. So that could be an HVAC system, a heating system, new flooring, or it could look completely different. But even in the scope of a lot of these numbers are going to seem really, really high, and this is just what stuff costs to do with this scale. But I feel like nearly $500,000 is almost certainly going to be something that people notice. Wouldn't you speculate that?
Oh, absolutely. You're going to notice any kind of upgrades when you go into these stores. That's being done now. This one's you said the Kings Island Trading Company. That's located like next to Build-A-Bear, correct?
Right, right. So we don't know what the stuff is, and that's going to be the story of this. We know the dollar amounts, and we can probably speculate pretty healthily as to what they're going to be doing. But again, this is more about pulling back the curtain. So the next thing this is all filed with the city of Mason, by the way. This how this information came to be. But Coney Barbecue's Kitchen was receiving a $100,000 renovation, ensuring continued efficiency for one of the park's most popular dining locations. Now, this may not be something that you can see as a guest, but it will be something where they're adding some efficiency. Maybe they're adding some sort of utility equipment so they can have different food options. $100,000 is a lot of money, obviously, but that could be like, they reroute ductwork. That gets up into the
Right.
100,000 real quick. But nonetheless, there's something that needs to be done in there that's going to allow them to better serve you as a guest. So that's something like you got to keep an eye out for it. Maybe you'll see something different, but I think that the overall experience might take a bump in the right direction as a result of that.
Yeah, I think that's important. That's one of the most popular dining locations at the park. Very high capacity, so you want to make sure that whatever you can do to enhance those efficiencies is being done.
Yeah. Now moving on to Soak City, and this is not the major attraction, but this is stuff that a lot of it has not been announced officially. But some of the improvements are going to be extensive. So $145,000 renovation is underway to the old subway building. That's going to be converted to blue ice cream. So
It's
I
a good
believe
call.
I agree. I believe that Soak City did not have blue ice cream. They might have had ice cream like cups, but I don't think they had soft serve anywhere. Um, Here's a great one: $650,000 to renovate all the bathrooms in Soak City. That's absolutely necessary. The bathrooms in Soak City are kind of gross. They
That
could
has
use
been
this for
something that people have been wanting for years to have upgrades in the bathrooms in Soak City.
Yeah, and I would agree that they need it. And when they've been renovating the bathrooms, they've been doing a good job. They renovated the Coney Mall one, for example, the one over by like Enrique's. They put new tile down, put wall tile up. It looks really nice. So I imagine it'll be something like that, but $650,000.
Right.
It's probably new bathroom fixtures and everything. So that's going to be a really exciting and like quality of life enhancement when it comes to Soak City. But we're not done there. So the entrance to Soak City is going to be redesigned to mirror the front gate experience of the main park, an estimated job of $120,000. Now, we can speculate for hours as to what that means. 120,000 isn't a lot of money. So I don't know
It's
if they're
not.
simply expanding it or what they mean by mirroring the front gate experience. But what I want to speculate, if I was a betting man, would be they're going to be adding capacity similar to the front gate. Because I know that there are times when, especially since there's only 2 or 4 front gate admission people, that it gets really backed up, especially with security and so on.
Yeah, it does, especially in the mornings on those weekends, the Saturdays and Sundays. All the pass holders who get in early, trying to grab one of those chairs that they just put a towel on and never return to the rest of the day.
Right. I feel attacked by that. I totally do. I'm kidding. I don't go to Soak City really. Um, and then obviously the star of the show for 2025 is going to be the RiverRacers. They did not announce the project cost of that with the announcement, but the filing with the city of Mason reflects $4.5 million for that project.
Yeah, that's about what you'd expect for something that's what 530 or so feet
I
in
was thinking
length.
4 to 5 all along. I would think so. I was dead on. It was right in between
Yeah,
4 to 5 million. Um, the other addition, obviously, is going to be Splash River Junction, which is a redo of kind of the kiddie pool next to it. And that renovation is $2.3 million. And the water tower installation that's going to go in the middle, it's going to replace the current structure that's in there, is valued at $313,191. So if you ever wanted your own water feature, that is a water tower, 313,000 is what's going to cost you. I think that'll be the most interesting part of all this.
yeah. Then you've
Uh,
got what do you have? What else is out there? I think there's a pump house at Mondu Monsoon.
yeah, people are going to be shocked by how much this costs. A pump house from Mondu Monsoon. $1.25 million.
That's more than it cost to build the racer back in 1972.
Absolutely. The pumps themselves, my experience with, water parks can tell you that a brand new pump is, I mean, at the time it was $30,000 to $35,000. Mondu Monsoon probably runs on 4 to 6 pumps. It uses a ton of water. So if they're putting in new pumps, digging wet well, man, it gets up there fast, doesn't it? $1.25 million for something that's not even guest facing.
No.
Additional guest comfort improvements include new shade structures throughout the park, $134,775.
Much needed, though.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember that when it comes down to building a pump house or, a renovation or something like that, that's one thing. But if they're buying shades and stuff, they're getting a bulk discount too. Probably a chain-wide bulk discount. So this $134,000 can probably go pretty far. I think that'll be a very noticeable change in 2025. Speaking of restrooms, which we talk about a lot on the show, allegedly, restroom renovations are also another priority for Planet Snoopy, which is set to have a $300,000 refurbishment, improving the park's family-friendly area. So that's the other restroom, also kind of needed. But that one's, but I'm wondering for 300,000 if that's also going to include the Coney Mall side too. You know what I'm talking about? How like
yeah. I think you'd almost have to figure it would for that kind of money.
I mean, it's how much was the other one? So it was like so for the restrooms, for the bathhouses, 650,000. That's for 3 major ones, and all 3 of those are bigger than the ones in Coney Mall, I'd say. So we're talking 300,000. It's got to be both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, the one in the Coney Mall side seemed like kind of a little bit more gross and stuff. So again, you can tell the non-renovated ones from the renovated ones. That's a non-renovated one. Dearly needed. This will be really appreciated. So there's some non-guest facing things in here. There's going to be a new greenhouse, which this came in a lot cheaper than I thought it would be. Maybe there's not a lot to it, but $22,846 for a new greenhouse. And now I think they put in demo permits for an old greenhouse, so they're not adding a greenhouse, they're replacing one. At least that's how I recall. Don't quote me on it. But obviously we got to move on. Another non-guest facing feature that they're adding, and this is the most important one, $24,500 for a new Dippin' Dots storage shed. Dippin' Dots is here to stay.
Yeah,
that's where they get all their information from, the Dippin' Dots guy.
Yeah, that's needed.
So
where they do that.
So these infrastructure enhancements, kind of show Kings Island's commitment to improvement and so on. And like I always said, there have been many times when people have said, Kings Island isn't getting anything. And from a guest standpoint, often it does seem that way. But I've never seen a year where Kings Island didn't get anything. So even without the new water slides, this is millions of dollars. I didn't calculate it up, but this is $3-4 million just in infrastructure right here.
Mm-hmm.
So the investment's massive, and that's on top of the stuff that I'm sure that they didn't have to get a permit for everything they did. So they reseal the blacktop and they paint this, all sorts of stuff. So it's millions of dollars that get poured into the park for stuff that you can't even ride, for restaurants you can't necessarily eat at unless it's behind the scenes, obviously. So I just think that it's really cool to see these things. This is probably the norm, by the way. I don't think this is a particularly high capital expenditure. I think this sort of thing is very normal. I mean, can you attest to that or not?
Yeah, there's always the infrastructure costs, the things that they're doing like this. It takes place every year. Some years a little more substantial than others, a little more going on sometimes. Sometimes it depends on where the new capital is and what you might have to do in that whole area. But, it's not something that is unusual. There's always something going on. They're trying to upgrade, enhance, replace. You talked about the restaurants, with Coney Barbecue, what they're doing in there.
Mm-hmm.
Several times. It wasn't too long ago that they put money into some enhancements into um, the Miami River Brew House.
Yep.
Chicken Shack, had
Mhm.
some upgrades out in
Beautiful
Soak
renovation
City.
at Chicken Shack. Beautiful
Yeah,
renovation.
yeah. Some upgrades were done out in Soak City a couple years ago.
Yep.
Uh,
Major
you
renovation.
know,
That was probably a $500,000 to do that renovation.
yeah. So you had the restaurant and then the bar off to the side of it. Was
Mhm.
was redone. Nobody heard anything about that. Tower
No.
Topics wasn't running then, so we weren't able to talk about how nice. Number one, that they were doing that kind of work, and number two, just how nice it is. And I remember going out there last year out in Soak City when it opened. I wanted to see where the new water coaster was going to go early in the year because we had gotten word that that's what was going to be new for 2025. So I wanted to, kind of walk out and kind of look around and kind of figure out where it was going to go, an idea where it was going to go because of what they had removed a few years earlier. But I was just super impressed with that whole bar area, how they had redone that. And there was not word one from the park at all that they were doing that. So it was a surprise and delight for me.
Surprise and delight, that's one way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, if Tower Topics were around back then, I'm sure we would have done an episode
Well, we
on it.
were last year, but by that time, I mean, it was already open and everything.
It would have been old news. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If like when Soak City opens for this year, Tower Topics is around. We're going to talk about every inch of the renovated restrooms, the blue ice cream stand, the new water slide, We're going to talk about all of it. But again, you only get one grand opening. So to talk about the bar that opened 2.5 months ago,
Yeah.
not going to
Doesn't work.
happen.
Not going to work.
Cool. So exciting. So Kings Island, thank you for continuing to invest in the park. I know that sometimes we're critical about some of the not infrastructure, but hardware that's installed. But this sort of stuff is really cool to see, and we really do appreciate that this kind of effort is put into it, and this kind of capital expenditure is put into making our favorite place even better.
Yeah, it's important.
All right. This is a segment we like to call "Buy or Sell."
All right. Six Flags will resume sponsorship agreements for events and rides within the next 2 years, such as Haunt sponsored by Bank of America and the Beast sponsored by PetSmart. So you're buying that we're going to see sponsors all over the place, or are you going to sell that, Ryan?
I'm starting to hate this segment because I'm split. So for me, I think that we will see Halloween Haunt brought to you by Snickers or whatever. I do not see the Beast brought to you by Hershey's or anything like that. I got to remember that it's mainly Cedar Fair people that are running the show now. There's a reason why they didn't do it in the past. They probably thought it was trashy because they certainly had the opportunity to do this. So with that being said, I would say to the extent of old Six Flags, absolute sell. Will we see events being sponsored? Yes, I buy that, but that's not out of the ordinary now. What about you?
I am on the same page as you. I'm selling. I don't think they're going to go to that degree. Everything's not going to get what's that, Six Flagsified,
Yeah.
where all the rides get some kind of a sponsor on it. It would look tacky if they were to do that. It looked tacky at a number of the Six Flags parks.
Yeah.
Some of them were able to kind of blend that in a little bit easier than others were able to. Some of them it just looked tacky. But no, I don't see it happening where the Beast is sponsored by something, the Racer sponsored, Mystic Timbers is sponsored, Diamondback, Orion. No, I don't see every major ride having a sponsor. So I am selling on that one.
And I want to caveat this as well to kind of express where I feel about this. I don't want the Beast and I don't want Diamondback brought to you by PetSmart or whatever. But when it comes to like Halloween Haunt, for example, to have a title sponsor with that, I think is a huge opportunity. I would be completely in favor, but I would be in favor of the signage and stuff like that saying Halloween Haunt brought to you by Snickers.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't be in favor of is having The Undertaker up there saying, "Welcome to Halloween Haunt, brought to you by Snickers." No, we're not doing that. But if you want to have it on the signage and stuff as a title sponsor, I could swallow that pill.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The thing I don't want to see is stickers on the coaster cars.
That's out of the question. That's out of the
Yeah,
question.
and I've seen that where some of the parks in the Six Flags Exchange, they had a sign out front that just said name of the ride presented by, sponsored by, and nothing on the trains. And others, it looked like NASCAR, with stickers everywhere.
I mean, if they did a NASCAR theme and they wanted to have those sponsored, I'd be okay with that. But yeah, it takes you out of it. I'm not too concerned with it. I don't see them doing that. But great buy or sell. I appreciate that. Let's move on to some Six Flags headline news. All right. On March 1st, Six Flags Fiesta Texas will make history with the grand opening of the largest DC Universe themed area at any amusement park in the United States. This Texas size expansion will take guests into the iconic world of DC like never before, where they'll experience unparalleled thrills, meet legendary DC superheroes and DC supervillains, and enjoy cutting edge attractions for fans of all ages. I mean, Jeffrey Siebert out there making the best of the best. Medium sized park. Probably wouldn't even be on the radar, but Jeff's there.
That's yeah. I was just gonna say, with Jeff being there, and there's some other people that I know involved with Six Flags Fiesta Texas, helping with the PR side, the social side, and that here we are living in the greater Cincinnati area. We hear and see a lot more about Fiesta Texas than we do our home park, Kings Island.
Yes, it's the people. The people move the needle. Oh, dude, if that rhymed, that would be a good corporate catchphrase. The people move the needle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations to them. I have not made it out to Fiesta Texas. I'm gonna try to change that this summer. I'm friends with obviously Jeffrey Siebert as well as the director of operations and so on. So I'd love to go out there and see them. Heck, they come to Kings Island a couple times a year. I think it's only fair, right?
That's right. No, it's a fantastic park. It's very well run, and Jeff gets everyone excited about what they're doing.
Jeff could get people excited about watching ice melt, watching paint dry.
Yeah, but like I said, there's one thing to just Trainless Tuesday, or here's a flashback Thursday to something, and then storytelling about what you have going on now. Like these infrastructure things we just talked about. That work's going on. You can't go out on International Street and take a picture of what's going on in the shop.
Now they will.
And now they will, yeah. But I mean, it's just things like now they will. But it's just things like that if Jeffrey Siebert and his team of people, the people that were if they were there, we'd be seeing a lot of different stories about what's going on in the park as they get ready to start the 2025 season. It wouldn't be this regimented canned stuff that on Tuesdays they're going to say it's Trainless Tuesday. Another day it's Maintenance Friday. It's just things like that it's it's okay, but you're not giving us anything. And what I mean us is everyone that's a fan of Kings Island that follows you on X, Instagram, Facebook. You're not giving them any kind of first looks of things that are happening,
right,
that guests can be excited about when the season starts. That they've got new menu items that they're working on and that they're cooking and trying and taking around the offices. Hey, try this burger, try this, chicken, those kind of things. We're not seeing any of that. We're not seeing the renovations in the shop. We're not seeing anything that's happening at Coney Barbecue. We're seeing very little about what's happening out in Soak City. And whatever is out there, it's just a paragraph that doesn't really tell you anything other than slide pieces showed up today. If this was Jeffrey Siebert, he'd be talking about what the slide pieces were, what parts of the ride they're going in, and what a timeline would be when we can expect to see it start to be, built and all that. So, yeah. So it's always, it's when we do this segment with the headline news. I mean, we can make every single episode something about Six Flags Fiesta.
I was gonna make that joke that we could have just.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much going on there that it'd be very easy to do. Things that I have that, set up where I get alerts, when parks are doing things, announcements and that, any kind of news, and they dominate it.
Oh my God, yeah, yeah. They're very good operationally. They're very good at being in front of people. The thing I like about Jeff is he definitely strikes that balance where he's definitely the face and the mouthpiece of the park, but I don't feel like he tries to make it about himself. I think that he ushers in excitement for the product. The product is bigger than Jeff, while
Yeah.
some others want to be the product, but I'm not going to get into that. But uh, excited for you, Fiesta, Texas. We love you out there or down there, I guess. But um, we'll be right back with the listener questions. All right, first listener question, Jim from Cincinnati. He said, can theme parks and football stadiums create immersive fan experience? And what lessons can each industry learn from the other? I hope you have all day, Jim. It's a great question.
It is a great question, but absolutely you can learn from each other. There's no doubt about that. When I would go to whether it was NHL games, Bengals games, Reds games, other theme parks and that, there's always things that you see that you could do to create, an immersive fan experience, at Kings Island. So yeah, you can always learn from each other. I don't think there's any downside to it. You should be doing that. There's a lot of things that are, it crosses over, translates well from each industry.
I think that the biggest thing that one can draw from the other is, let's call it whataboutism. Somebody goes to a football game. Okay, there's a football game there. That's the entertainment. Well, what about the person's wife or kid or whatever that isn't really into football? How did they get entertained? What about the person that is really into the stats? How can we serve them? Same thing with theme parks. What about the person that doesn't like to ride? What about the person that doesn't like shows? What about the person that can't walk a lot? I mean, obviously there's going to be weird situations where like, yeah, theme park maybe not be right for the person, but you want to serve as many people as possible. And I think that that's where they're kind of hand in hand is, if you focus too much on one thing, you're narrowing your scope, but that's why they have the in-game experience and that's why they have entertainment at theme parks.
That's right.
All right. Next question. Dan from Indianapolis. He said, if you could return an old or develop one new amenity to enhance the guest experience, what would it be and why? I've only been going to Kings Island since 2019, so my experience is quite limited, but I did hear that there used to be a shuttle service to get people from the parking lot to the front gate. It would be great to see this come back, especially on heavily attended days where it may take a family 5 to 10 minutes to walk to the front gate, and especially after a long day when everyone is exhausted from yet another great day at the park. So he mentioned the tram service. Can you think of anything else that you would like to see restored?
That comes up a lot as an amenity that's gone. I don't think that will return.
No.
There's a lot of issues, bringing it back. You've got the way the parking lot is laid out. There's the, vehicle pedestrian conflict that's there. I don't know that's lit well enough to do that. And now it's not, after they redid the parking lot, after they got rid of the trams, it's not wide enough between the aisles anymore.
Yeah, I could see that.
To be able to do that. Plus the front gate is all reconfigured now. It doesn't have that circle area where the trams would come in and drop people off. You can't even get up there now, to drop people off there. So that's not going to come back, but something that would be an amenity to add. I think the park still would need a couple of more sit-down indoor restaurants. One that has the table service would be really good. Something on International Street would be really good for that. I look up at the International Restaurant, and think what potential it could have. You'd still have that problem because of location. Once people are in the park, they're in the back of the park, they're hungry, they're not going to walk all the way back up to the front gate. Sure. Most of the time to get something to to eat, but I think something like that, indoor air conditioned table service would be good. Something like free sunscreen. People don't think about that when they come to the park. You can buy it at the park, but I think if you just, you know, had it to where it was available for free to guests, I think you'd be doing a tremendous service. You're not going to give them free soft drinks because you got the drink plan and all that. Um, you're not going to give people free parking. So I think, sunscreen would be something that would be easy to do, relatively inexpensive for the park to do, especially if they get the sponsorship for it. Uh, so that would be my thing, is a indoor sit down restaurant and free sunscreen for everybody.
So I can think of two things. One is an amenity that I feel like they had, but might have gone away probably decades ago. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen stuff in the shops that I want to buy, and I decide not to because I don't want to walk around with it all day.
Hmm.
So having like a package pickup thing, I think there used to be like a minimum dollar amount or something that if you spent, you could just pick up your package at guest services on the way out. I'd love to see that. I would actually spend a lot more because half the time by the time I leave for the day, I've either forgotten or changed my mind.
Same thing
Um,
here, Ryan. I would definitely buy merchandise if I didn't have to lug it around all day. And at the end of the night, after I get my last ride, my last meal, watching the fireworks, whatever, I want to go. So I think something like that you could pick it up would be fantastic to have.
the other thing, and I've mentioned this on the show before, and this is a big ask. I understand that because this is like sinking a lot of costs, but they have the season long locker rental for like a few $100s. It's actually more expensive than the season pass, I think. But I would like to see season long locker rental where you get to keep the locker. So I could keep like an extra pair of shoes or deodorant or because I come to the park pretty often. I would probably spend $300 a year to have my own locker there and to be able to just trade stuff out. And if I buy something, I can throw it in the locker whenever I want, but not have to take it home at the end of the night. But now, with that being said, the lockers generate a ton of revenue. So to have me tie that locker up for $300 a year is probably not feasible unless they did them like maybe outside the front gate or something. I don't know. But that's always something. When they first announced the season long lockers, I was super excited because I thought that's what they were doing. But the regular locker rental thing isn't a huge value to me, but
How
something
many
they
of
could
those do you think they'd sell realistically?
a lot. I think they would sell. I think if they offered 100 of them, they'd sell out within a few days.
Okay.
For I think that there's enough people. I mean, okay, the messaging would have to be right because if people think, oh, I can get season long locker rental for $100 or season long locker rental for $300, I'm going to get the $100 one. And I think for most people that one would be appropriate. But for somebody that comes every weekend like I do, or people that come several times a week, I think that several $100, $300 or so, I think is a reasonable price for that kind of convenience. Keep my sunscreen in there and so on.
I like that idea.
Yeah. All right. Next listener question. Kristen from Cincinnati. Do you think we'll continue to see a free hush puppy with our meals at Coney Barbecue? Kristen, did Mark send you to ask that question? What
Well,
do you think, Don?
while supplies last every day. No, I think it's a nice little thing that they do. I don't think it'll go away.
I don't think so in the foreseeable future, but you also have to remember that they have cut the free extra item thing from other item. I remember when the meal plans first came out at Hank's Burrito Shack, you used to get chips and salsa with it, which honestly was too much food, but they did cut that.
Hmm.
Um, I could see it going away, but I think that they were smart about it from the beginning. It's a low effort, low cost item. Yeah, but you mentioned like, oh, it's something they do that's nice. It's not something nice. It's built into the deal. Let's get that out of the way. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that it's built into the cost of whatever you would get.
yeah. So I don't see it going away in the near future. 10 years from now, who knows? You know. I
That
like the
still
biscuit.
comes up to me a lot of times when people talk about Tower Topics and some of their favorite episodes. A lot of them still mention the time that you went on a rampage about the hush puppy.
It wasn't so much that I went on a rampage about the hush puppy. It was my thought process was this, because here's the sequence of events. I go to Coney Barbecue. I'm getting my food. Everybody in front of me gets a hush puppy. We get to me. I said, "Can I have my hush puppy?" And there's a supervisor said, "No, we're out of them." And I said, "What do you want to do then?" And he goes, "You can't have one." Like, it was the rudest thing ever. So my thought process at that time, which in hindsight I realized was out of spite because this guy was a jerk and should not be a
And that
supervisor.
guy that guy got promoted too later on in the year.
Oh, I don't even know who it was, honestly. He might have gotten promoted. But I was just saying, like, hey, if you have the, and I think I said this in the season pass group post, I said, if you have the meal plan, this may not be a big deal. But if you're spending $24, including the drink on your meal, you should know that, you're used to getting 3 items and you're only getting two. Like, I thought that was a fair thing to say. And then obviously things erupted over it, and I had to defend myself. And I stand by what I said and what I did. It was, they don't give you a free hush puppy. A hush puppy is part of the meal. Um, they can position it as free all they want, but that's just not what it is, because if you don't buy a meal, you don't get a hush puppy. So, I haven't had that problem since. I wasn't ever that bitter. I was never bitter about the hush puppy itself. It was just about how rude the person
How it was
was about it.
handled.
Because had the person said, "Hey, I'm really sorry," actually, no, I think I said, "Can I wait for one?" And they said, "No." Like, "What side do you want?" "No, you can't wait." Like, whatever they said was super rude and completely inappropriate. But had they said, like, "Hey, I'm really sorry, we're out of them. It's going to be a long time," even if they didn't offer me something in exchange or whatever, that would have been fine. But no, this person was just like staunch and rude, and it's like, you're a poor representation of this company. But but it's all water under the bridge. I've eaten Coney barbecue several times since then. Got my delicious hush puppy, sometimes two, because my girlfriend doesn't like them. She gives me hers. Uh, anyway, enough about hush puppies. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don. I was all like, "What are we doing next?" It's the end of the
Right.
episode. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helvig. This is Tower Topics.